This will not be a war of heroes. Nations will slaughter each other while we get rich. This is from the trailer of this movie Kingsman, and this is the Kingsman official trailer. I think this is like a prequel to the trilogy, or this is the third installment of Kingsman, and this is like a prequel to how the Kingsman organization started. But regardless, we're looking at it from the context of this will not be a war of heroes. Nations will slaughter each other while we get rich. And the key is the we. And the reason why I bring this up is because I was actually watching a Tim cast on YouTube, and he has Jack Posobiec explaining environmental social governance, real life, real time social credit score. And this is a little bit of a new topic for me, a little bit of a recent discovery as it was brought to my attention by those in the comments, and I appreciate that. You bringing this up makes me want to learn more about it and understand it so that, we can all have this conversation and discussion and see how it can impact us overall, financially and, socially. It's going to affect our future. And it's actually really disturbing, this information here. And I wanted to share that with you guys.
When you see Larry Fink and the rest of them pushing these ESGs, it's essentially you've got a bunch of Wall Street boomers that are saying, oh, we've got $9 trillion in assets as a money management firm. So how do we then impose our vision of this utopia on everybody else? Well, you come up with these ESGs. And if you want access to that capital, you've got to go along with your corporate social credit score.
So the ESG is what I said, is the environmental social governance. It's going to be referenced to as an ESG for the most part from here on out.
What's ESG mean?
Environmental social governance.
What is it exactly?
It's a corporate social credit score. So it's the idea, it's a score that even Zuckerberg is going to be under, so even Twitter is going to be under, that if you, it's literally like
a corporate social credit score.
Score.
And
corporate social credit score. So obviously this credit score isn't about money and being your credit worthiness to have access to capital as a corporation. It's a social credit score. So like, what is your street cred basically? What is your credibility with the people? And at least that's my understanding of it. If you think that it means something different, please let me know.
And I'm happy you brought this up because I remember researching this a little bit.
And this is the Great Reset.
Yeah,
this is all the Great Reset.
The Great Reset, but it's also the woke agenda. It explains why so many of these same policies are kind of brought out in unison by all these very powerful forces all at once.
And the reset, as I'm watching this, and this is from October of last year. And the reset, as I'm watching this, I'm understanding the reset is going to be a whole lot different than what we've seen in the past, previous resets or previous market corrections, rebounds. The reset that I anticipate that we'll see moving forward is going to be quite different than ever before. And it has something to do with what I brought to you guys yesterday about, if you watched my video yesterday, is about the price of tacos and how the price of tacos are going to go through the roof, much like pretty much everything else, especially food, especially the necessities are going to go through the roof. But the key with that is to make it so that you don't really see how much it costs or you don't feel the pain while you're buying and paying for it through apps and QR codes and credit cards being tied to Google Pay and Apple Pay and things like that, where you won't really feel it. You won't feel the pain immediately. So you won't really, for some, you won't have a great understanding for how much it really costs you at the time until later. And I think that's going to be a huge component for the reset, is how consumers' money is going to be taken away from them in new and exciting ways.
And they kind of doubled down on them. That's why we see the Pope literally work with MasterCard and Visa and meet with them in order to push for the Great Reset, in order to try to implement it as fast as they can. And again, they outline everything they're doing. It's in their own documents. It's on their website. They brag about it. The World Economic Forum literally makes
They're very clear about
super
this.
futuristic videos about how glorious everything's going to be, how fun everything's going to be, how convenient and better everything's going to be when you just give up those pesky rights. You just give up those pesky civil.
Yeah, and the key is the convenience. They're gonna try to make it very convenient for you to give up your money, give up your rights, give up your freedom, and give up so many more things, and give up your will, basically. And obviously they got to paint this picture. They can't make it look grim and bleak, otherwise no one would co-sign on it. So it is marketing, it is advertising, and some of these big companies, they're very good at that.
Liberties are your
Haven't you seen
freedoms and
Kingsman?
liberties.
Have you seen
Yes,
Kingsman?
of course. Yeah, that was
Here's the most important takeaway, though.
They're doing a new Kingsman,
In-
right?
Yeah, third one.
Well, it's a prequel, though.
Right.
I think,
In
yeah.
the movie Kingsman, a tech billionaire is trying to figure out how to stop global warming by having the poor people all purge themselves, and he gives the elites a device to protect them. But the most important takeaway from that film is that the leader of Kingsman is in on it.
Right.
So when you get the Pope coming out, like the leaders are all like agreeing about this.
Listen, I actually pulled the
Yeah, you got to understand. You got to really think about who's behind a lot of the things that are going on, and then the miraculous solutions and corrections to these problems that have just continuously been growing and growing and growing. It's like who's creating the problem, who's solving the problem, and who's behind the problem, who's behind the solution. Because surprisingly, you may find out that it's not really who you think.
before I came out today. World Economic Forum 2016 from the Global Future Councils. Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say, our city.
This is where it gets really bad. This is where it gets really disturbing. Pay attention. Listen to this.
I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or clothes. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you considered a product has now become a service.
Now, listening to this, it makes me think of a lot of the minimalist and minimalistic lifestyle, simplicity lifestyle videos that I've seen on YouTube. And I'm okay with that to a degree. Now, I'm okay with it to a degree because as we've been cleaning out our house to move to a smaller square footage, a smaller amount of space, a smaller footprint, we're realizing we don't need a lot of the stuff we had that we never used. We don't need it. And we're going to make a conscious effort not to accumulate more than we need moving forward. Now, I also don't want to confuse this with depriving yourself, especially depriving your kids growing up of, certain things, trying to conform to this minimalistic lifestyle approach. But with what he just said, it reminds me of the minimalistic lifestyle for the fact that you own very little, if not nothing. But where he ends it is these products now become services. And you have to understand that is where we're moving to. Uber and Lyft. They've taken the product of the vehicle and the mode of transportation to a service. Anything that you rent, anything that you borrow, that you could own or would typically have owned, we're moving in that direction. But all that does is continuously take money out of your pocket.
That's most communist.
So like when you wake up, a guy clothes you, or what?
No, it's like
Borrowing
No, it's
clothing?
like you rent. You'll rent clothes, like the way you rent a tux, or there's like rent the one way.
Yeah.
It's already started. Right?
So
Rent
what
the
about
one way is part of it.
retirement? Does that
so
just
you
no
rent
more retirement?
it, and then you have them for like a week. You wear the clothes, then you put them back to the service, then you get the next one.
And this is just like a new form of waste for our society, of renting non-essentials and unnecessary things just to trade them back in and turn them back in to continuously pay for more non-essential, unnecessary things.
And if you say I hate the government, they take your clothes away.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, they shut off your ability to be able to buy stuff, to be able to go
If
to
you
the
want to open
supermarket.
if you want to open your smart fridge,
Are they going to
Yeah.
try and electrically shock brains to pacify people? Is that what?
Well,
we're
they
headed towards?
I haven't read anything about that in the World Economic Forum documents and what they kind of strive to achieve, but everything's out there on their website. They did delete that one famous article where they said you will own
Yeah,
nothing, you
I
will
saw
have
that's
no
gone.
privacy, and you will be
Right.
happier than ever. They deleted that, so you have to actually go and
didn't they try
look
to say
for it
like,
and find
oh
it.
no, this was a submission
Yes.
to a thing, and it wasn't? I'm like, your logo is on the video.
But
And this is something that we should be mindful of, because you got to realize that there is an agenda and there's a push. And going back to the central bank digital currency, that putting us in a situation where our money is now converted to digital currency and then controlled by a central bank versus being controlled by or managed by or held by private entities like Chase and Fidelity and Bank of America and Wells Fargo, Truist, BB&T. Moving to the central bank digital currency is further relinquishing us of our ability to control our money.
you're literally talking about controlling so many aspects of your existence. I mean, Bill Gates is
Right, this is-
literally...
this is the clear.
Yeah. Bill Gates is, of course, on board with this. He's working and financing technology that will literally have implantable microchips that will control if you could have children with an on and off
What?
button.
Now, I want these guys to be a little bit aware about what he's saying. And it is not quite exactly Bill Gates controlling your ability to reproduce, but this is technology that Bill Gates has invested in.
Look up Bill Gates microchips funding in a way that could control your fertility on and off through electricity. So they're working on controlling.
I don't believe you.
I don't care.
What's that
Look
right
it
there?
up.
The fertility chip.
Yes.
No, this is
False claim from Reuters.
No, that was the false claim was about.
Yes. So some
fertility
people are
chip.
conflating this with. It has nothing to do with. But this is just
Population
What is
control.
this? What is this?
This is what I'm talking about. This is what Bill Gates is financing. He's literally financing an implantable chip.
It's a birth control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pregnancy tracker.
That people.
Yeah.
No.
Hold on.
Is it?
I got no problem with you saying that Bill Gates wants to create a chip that can turn off fertility.
Exactly.
But as long as you give us the full framing of it.
Yes.
Bill Gates is working on what they say is a pregnancy tracking app, and I don't know what this website is. Glassroom. And fertility activity, they say some invasive, blah, blah, blah. The general idea is that women would be able to have birth control or something.
No, not just that. It's about controlling fertility with an on and off button that someone else will control. So this is a
Well, and this is where we need to really take this with a grain of salt, because what he's saying here is that someone else could control it. It isn't necessarily saying that someone else will control it, but they could.
other layer.
Remote control contraceptive chip available by 2018.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
And the article's
I'll-
from 2014.
Now, right, it's from 2014. They say the chip is implanted under a woman's skin, releasing a small dose of levonorgestrel, a
Yeah,
hormone.
it's birth control.
This will
Project has
happen
been
every
backed
day
by
for
Bill
16
Gates.
years, but can be stopped at any time by using a wireless remote control. The project has been backed by Bill Gates. There's a big difference between a woman wanting birth control and being like, I can turn it off when I decide to have a kid, and Bill Gates going
Financing
like,
this.
"Nyeh."
Bill Gates financing it isn't Bill Gates controlling the remote control. Just put that out there.
It doesn't say that you can turn
Okay,
it
but
on.
all I'm
though.
saying is
Dude.
Bill Gates is financing this, and Bill Gates is all along with this great economic, the Great Reset. He's going along with this agenda, and he's creating technological evolutions. We're talking about literally VR. So what makes you think that
Yeah,
this
but
is
you're
not
making
going
it
to be a
sound
part
like
of it?
they're going to force you to not be able to have kids, when in reality it's
Yeah.
people choosing not to have kids.
And this is something that, like I've said before, like pay attention to who's telling you certain things and what they're telling you and how they're telling you to you, because it may not necessarily be exactly the way they're trying to deliver it.
Yes and no on certain levels, because if they're controlling your existence through VR, what makes you think that they won't move into another step? I mean, this is technology that China would have loved to have a few years ago that they would have implemented right away. So when we're talking about VR headsets and controlling our
This is the
reality through
BBC,
this,
by the way,
this
reporting.
is another layer to it that people need to understand, because there is a large portion of people pushing this that do talk about the need of reducing the world population, of getting rid of people because they pollute, and we have to have climate change effective green policies that get rid of people. So when you have Bill Gates being able to create a technology that could turn people's fertility on and off, that switch, that power is something that we should be talking about, especially when it comes to theorizing. I'm not saying this is going to happen directly, but I'm saying the technology is being built. Their plans are kind of out there in their own websites, on their own documents. They're talking about it themselves. So when they're implementing a lot of this, you should be concerned and you should raise questions. That's all I'm saying
So
here.
when
I'm not saying I have a prophecy of what's going to happen here, because no one does.
That reminds me of a story. So when I lived in China, I was visiting, it was a friend of mine who had basically an uncle that lived out in the countryside from Shanghai. And in the county where he lived, he had one of the largest factories, and he ran it very well. It was a toy factory. And because he ran it so well, the county party chairman wanted to reward him. And as a reward, he was allowed to have a second child.
Yes.
So, and I remember meeting, and this was just, my friend's uncle and his two kids. And I remember just hanging out with the family, and we're just, playing around, doing whatever. But then sitting there thinking that this human being, this person that I'm like just, rolling the ball back and forth with, they exist because the Chinese Communist Party decided that due to your loyalty and your leal service to the party and to the country, that you can be allowed to create an extra life.
Exactly.
And had he not, by the way, they would have taken it away.
And the same globalist that implemented and inspired and put into place the Chinese one-child policy, that implemented that everything that has China become, are the same people, or the same minds, or the same, quote, intellectuals behind the World Economic Forum.
This has been my theory of the case as well.
Exactly.
That the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset are America and the West's answer to the CCP's program and the authoritarianism.
They want
the
you
system
to live like people are living in China right now,
They
under a
want that
social
system.
credit score.
Absolutely.
And they're going to bring layers to this that are mind-boggling. And at first, people think you're crazy when you bring up what they could potentially do to you. But when they have the technology, when they're building this, we have to start asking
But
why.
here's the difference. The difference is in the West, because we have a tradition of personal choice that they don't have in the East. It won't necessarily be that they can control the remote. But they'll sit there and say, "Oh, you should do this. It'll be better for the country. It'll be better for the environment, better for the planet, better for the future."
Or cancel culture.
This is the antinatalist movement, or a cancel culture, right? Will come up. So all of these various propaganda campaigns will be pushed throughout society. You'll see propaganda movies. You'll see propaganda Netflix. You'll see propaganda TV shows, all talking about pushing these issues that go along with the
it's a
agenda.
combination.
Yeah, there will be a strong push here soon to try to manipulate and control the population, the growth rate, and just try to put America in somewhat of a position similar to China, but not forcefully by saying you can only have one child or anything of that sort, but try to control the climate, try to control the consumption rate, try to control the population. And obviously, based on past experiences, it will definitely be some sort of motivational push or pushback or promotion or recommendation or some form of enticement to make you want to do certain things. That will give you this remote, per se, this option, this button to push, and then they will try to persuade you to push it. And, obviously pushing their own agenda. Maybe it aligns with yours, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it aligns with maybe a particular political party, which you align with or you don't. And therefore, because they do, you do, or because they do, you don't. And, you have to realize that, or at least ask yourself the question of why. Why did they give me this option? Why are they talking about this so much? Why do they want me to do this? And then it comes down to like personal choice. not going to get into that here, but you have to realize that with the situations that we're currently in and the struggles that we're currently facing that are potentially going to get worse and worse and worse, those in power, the politicians, those in power, the uber rich, the billionaires, the owners, the CEOs of the large corporations, the pharmaceutical companies, they're looking out for their best interest, and their best interests include profit and people, the people that can make them profitable, and also less of the people who put a strain on their profitability.
It's like Brave New World that they do it through Pleasure and 1984. It's a combination of both worlds coming together. Yesterday, I said it was like Revenge of the Nerds and 1984. But in reality, when you look at the techniques that they're using to pacify the general public, a lot of it has it with pleasing them, brainwashing them. And there's also a part of it, it's the carrot and the stick. And that's how they are going to implement a lot of this.
I know exactly what to say to bring up what Luke is talking about, because it's through the lens of something that we're seeing every day. Look at what they're saying about the unvaccinated. Look at the way they're saying that unvaccinated people should not be given priority in hospitals. Now what happens if unvaccinated people go to the hospital and they say, oh, I need a C-section. I'm having a problem with my pregnancy. I need an emergency C-section. Oh, but you're unvaccinated.
Yep.
Right? What happens then?
Yeah, there's already people.
Well, ma'am, your
continue down this
social
road.
credit score is actually quite impressive, but your baby is registering a 0, and we can't help the baby if that's the case.
It's already happening in Italy.
There's a lot of
That's real talk right there, and I guess based on this conversation that I'm understanding a little bit more now, there's a social credit score in addition to the corporate social credit score. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different, but this social credit score is going to be, it's going to be like that movie with Justin Timberlake, where your time was on your arm, and when you ran out of time, basically your life was over. You died, and your social credit score will be attached to you, and it will possibly or potentially change the outcome of certain situations and decisions that need to be made based on that score. Not just applying for a loan for a car, for a vehicle, auto loan, or applying for a loan for a mortgage or a house, or trying to get approval for a rental application or insurance, or, because even now, your credit score, depending on the corporation and company that you're trying to gain employment with, they are potentially going to look at your credit score. They're absolutely going to look at your social media presence and accounts and ties and connections, but they're also going to look at your FICO credit score right now. And this is kind of like a combination of this social credit score, but the social media component is opinion. The FICO is kind of fact based on time and credit history and repayment terms and different things like that. But ultimately, that's going to have an impact on your ability to gain employment. And if you take that and move it to this ESG, environmental social governance type corporate social credit score, real-time social credit score, it may move more towards opinion-based than actual fact.
We were talking about the video yesterday. There's people being denied medical services. There's people being denied organ transplants in the United States because, let's be honest here, they don't have the right social credit score paper please approval system by the federal government. And when we're living in a society that's already this divisive, this discriminatory, where they're saying die unless do what the government wants you to do, this is a level that it's very hard to go back from.
Luke, you just go to the government website. You don't even have to think about it.
Don't even have to think.
Exactly. That's the thinking that's going to lead us down to living like the average person in China right now.
Yeah, and do you want to see a shift of us living like those under the communist rule in China? Everybody remember, stay smart, be smart, make smart decisions, smart moves, educate yourself, be prepared. We got a lot coming down the pipe, coming our way, full speed. That light at the end of the tunnel, it's a train coming. But it doesn't mean that we can't survive this. So, but the key to survival is definitely going to be education and our ability to work together.